Okay, let's get started. Hello everybody and welcome to this webinar with Quuppa alongside I Virtualize, where we're going to be talking today about maximizing efficiency and employee safety with real-time location services. My name is Jesse. I am the marketing designer here at Quuppa. I'm also joined on the line by the team from I Virtualize, and also Seth, who is one of the regional sales in our US offices. Just to go through some housekeeping while we're waiting for just the rest of the attendees to join. We will be hosting a Q&A at the end of this session, so if you do have any questions at all throughout the webinar, in the GoToWebinar control panel, there is a questions tab, so you can feel free to ask any questions throughout the webinar, and we will go through that at the end. So, without further delay, let's get started. So, in today's agenda, we're going to be talking a little bit about. We're going to give a little introduction into Quuppa, which will be given by Seth. Then we're going to move on to talking a little bit about the history of I Virtualize and their solution, which is trace sensors. And in that, we'll be talking about tagging, tracking, and tracing. Then we're going to speak a little bit more about the real-time location services, or RTLS, for various use cases, especially with the current kind of global pandemic that I'm sure everyone is aware of right now. That'll be followed by a case study, and then after that we'll have a Q&A. So yeah, let's get started. Seth, are you on the line? If you'd like to just introduce yourself and talk a little bit about Quuppa.
Yeah, thank you, Jesse. First, I'd like to welcome all of our attendees to today's webinar. We will be highlighting one of Quuppa's newest partners, I Virtualize, who has introduced a social distancing and contact tracing application that's based on Quuppa's real-time location technology and helping get employees safely back to work during this pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a massive impact on people and their health, companies, and their productivity, certainly jobs in our economy overall. And this pandemic is a health crisis first and foremost, but has also cost trillions of dollars globally. So we're all trying to figure out ways to exist and bring our lives back to some state of normal. Social distancing and contact tracing, as we've heard a lot about recently, is one of the ways that we can minimize the risk of virus transmission and identify sort of the origin of virus transmission when it does happen. Location and tracking data is obviously essential in delivering the information required to put these safeguards in place. And I'm excited to have I Virtualize here because a lot of companies are talking about social distancing and contact tracing solutions, but I Virtualize is actually implementing these solutions today, and that's what we're going to highlight. But before I introduce the founders of I Virtualize, I'd like to start with a quick overview of Quuppa. For those that perhaps are not as familiar with us, Quuppa was founded back in 2012. Our founders all came out of Nokia Research Center. All experts in physics and RF technologies and certainly indoor positioning. And at Nokia, back in the early 2000s, they were responsible for investigating fundamentally any and all wireless technologies that Nokia could essentially productize for an indoor positioning and tracking solution. So they were looking for a globally available technology that was flexible and certainly cost effective for deployment, obviously in a variety of different environments. And I mention this because our founders pretty much tested every wireless technology out there, including Wi-Fi, RSSI, ultra-wideband, ultrasound, and of course Bluetooth. And after testing all these technologies, they determined that Bluetooth really could meet the requirements that they were looking for. And in particular, they developed and honed the use of the angle of arrival methodology. It's important to highlight this because there are a lot of Bluetooth solutions out in the marketplace today that use signal strength as the foundation for their solutions, which quite frankly has been less than suitable in terms of accuracy especially in the use cases that required precision and dependable positioning. So right around 2010, the founders saw a massive market opportunity for real-time location capabilities and knew they had a unique technology and a sort of special sauce of their own, and decided to pursue productizing an indoor positioning solution on their own. And in 2012, Quuppa was founded, and we also released its first commercial product. And ever since, Quuppa has been expanding rapidly. We've expanded our sales and business development teams globally. We've got over 500 customers and partners using our technology today in pretty much any vertical that you can think of, including manufacturing, healthcare, sports, retail, security, warehousing, etc. A great example of our technology that we like to highlight in action, which really exemplifies the real-time precision of our location capabilities, is with the Finnish Hockey League. And they have outfitted all of their ice arenas with Quuppa locators, and they've attached tags to the players' jerseys and inside the puck itself, which can travel at speeds up to 100 miles per hour across the ice. And so in that case, we're sort of showing the extreme use case where we're literally processing coordinate information from that puck 50 times per second. And that is fed into a fan experience application on mobile devices that provide real-time statistics. So really, the use of those statistics for that fan experience is certainly one of the applications. They also use it for training purposes. And real-time location technology in the marketplace. We rely on partners like I Virtualize to make these capabilities relevant and useful for the specific verticals and business applications to address the end customer's business issues. So that's a little bit about Quuppa, where we come from, how we partner. And what I'd like to do now is introduce the founders of I Virtualize, John Buskermolen and Dan Simonek. If you'd be kind enough, John and Dan.
Well, thank you very much, Seth, for your warm introduction. I'm John Buskermolen, co-founder and Executive Vice President of Sales for I Virtualize. Along with Dan Simonek, I Virtualize's other co-founder and Executive Vice President of IT, we would like to thank all of you for joining us today for Trace Sensors, maximizing efficiency and employee safety with real-time location services. I Virtualize was founded in 2008 in Hamilton, Ontario by Dan and I. It began as a project where we wanted to provide customers with a more personalized and experienced level of service and solutions that fit their organization's unique pain points. We serve clients in Canada, the US, and around the world. In addition to Trace Sensors real-time location services, our portfolio of services includes managed cloud solutions, on-premise infrastructure solutions, professional services, to name a few. Our team combines a myriad of backgrounds, knowledge, certifications, perspectives, and practical know-how. Prior to the pandemic, I Virtualize was working with a client who had been disappointed by a real-time RFID location solution that promised coverage to within 3 feet 100% of the time. 18 months later, and almost $100,000 later, the vendor who supplied that solution changed their message to the precision of within 10 feet 50% of the time. You can imagine what our clients felt like, the frustration, the level of frustration, and our true embarrassment. This was a completely unacceptable outcome for the both of us. Our team spent the next 6 months researching the best of breed technologies to form a complete, high precision, real-time location service offering. We were back in that client's office in March of this year, 6 months after we'd begun the search. We were in the process of showing them how Trace Sensors could do so much better. During that meeting, we were told we had to leave. Mid-meeting, folks, we are shutting the building down. Everyone has to leave. We will talk to you in a month. We'll see where things are. It blew us away. At the start of the pandemic, businesses were facing steep challenges like the one I just mentioned. Shut the doors. Those challenges includes they were losing money from being closed. They were worried about employee safety, There was very low consumer confidence. This got us thinking about how trace sensors could help businesses stay open, which helps all of our communities, help workers maintain social distancing, help businesses identify ways to optimize workflows and enhance their efficiency with a clear view into their entire facility. So what is Trace Sensors Real-Time Location Services? It's an innovative, scalable, indoor and outdoor positioning system that uses antennas with Bluetooth low-energy connectivity to track sensors on assets, employees, shopping carts, shopping baskets, you name it. In regards to social distancing, these tags alert employees and shoppers, for example, when they become too close to one another. Using the hyper-accurate monitoring capabilities, Trace Sensors gathers the location data it collects from the sensors and displays it on an easy-to-navigate dashboard. Using an electronic digital map of your facility or store, you can locate materials, assets, and workers, and in real time, and then you can also archive their location data. When it comes to contact tracing, you can use the archived data, if an outbreak occurs, for example, to quickly determine who may be infected, what areas of your facility may either need to be closed and/or cleaned. Tag, track, and trace was a concept designed to help companies keep their workforce safe and optimize their operations. Let's take a quick look at all of these and how they deliver value for our customers. Tagging. These tags are worn as lanyards or can be put on their collars or belts. It's a wearable or hanging from the lanyard. The tag alerts workers with either a vibrating or audible alert when they are too close and not maintaining physical distancing. The badge is only tracked within the facility and only when at work. Unlike other tracking solutions that use apps on smartphones, these tags can only be tracked when at work so as to not invade employees' personal privacy when not at work. It does not infringe on the employee's life away from work. By wearing these tags, employees are doing their part to keep one another safe and to keep the business open. Tracking. Trace Sensors tracking capabilities are designed to keep employees safe and maintain productivity in any given scenario. We can help employers identify hotspots such as office areas, lunchrooms, water coolers, anywhere where employees tend to gather and mingle, and quite frankly, they invade each other's 6-foot space. The heat mapping capabilities of this solution helped one of our customers realize they had a production flow issue. Within the first week of going live, they moved machines around to enhance the productivity. Another customer realized immediately that this will cut down on time off and healthcare costs due to the common cold and the flu. COVID is no different in that sense of an airborne sickness that can be transferred just like the cold or just like the flu. I'm sure you've heard a little bit about contact tracing in the news over the last while. It's a pretty hot topic. We've spoken to several companies that have had COVID issues, meat plants, warehouses, manufacturing. They're using, if you can believe this, they're using video surveillance to track down who was in contact with the infected person or persons. These companies literally had people sitting in front of monitors tracking Seth as he moved through the plant to see what did he touch, where was he, who was he in contact with. Can you imagine doing that for hours and hours and hours? And what if there's multiple? Look at what just happened in Brandon, Manitoba, a maple leaf pork factory. 55 cases were just announced yesterday. Imagine doing that. Imagine looking through the video for all of that. Well, now imagine doing that in a few minutes with a few clicks. Our solution does that. I would now like to introduce you to ILR. They are a company located in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. They were one of our first trace sensor customers to implement our COVID physical distancing platform. The company owns a 100,000 square foot facility, of which we're covering about 80,000 square feet with our trace solution. Excuse me. The remaining 20,000 is either inventory or raw materials. In addition to tracking the employees at ILR, the CEO asked us to start tracking his forklifts so we could add tags to those. Next week, we're going to be adding sensors to all of his machines to provide production monitoring and predictive failure analysis. The bottom line is, once this solution is installed, whether it's a COVID solution, whether it's an asset tagging solution, the capabilities of the Quuppa solution combined with our other partners make this very robust. And so it is just one part of many parts that you can tack onto this and bolt on so that you can do so much more. All right, let's talk a little bit more about physical distancing. Another one of our clients were shocked by the amount of notifications they were receiving when they first installed the solution. The notifications were constantly going off. Literally every 5-10 minutes there was a notification. But in less than a week, it was very minimal. Workers actually changed how they interacted with one another. Their behaviors were modified. They actually took the time to make sure that they were keeping apart from one another. Employees actually felt safer coming to work, especially going home, knowing that they were not bringing the virus home from work to their families. One of the most powerful comments we heard was from a team lead, actually at ILR. He said the team came back to him and they basically put together a statement, almost a mission statement. And it reads in part, "We have a common enemy in the virus, and we will do everything we need to stop it from stopping us." Just an amazing statement of how this is helping one of many companies. We see trace sensors being used by just about any industry. There are use cases for just about everyone, from food processing to education or any other workplace. Seth actually tapped into that. There are so many verticals where real-time location services is very, very relevant. And we want to help businesses succeed with this technology. So there's three parts that are sort of the pillars of it. With trace sensors, we gather, analyze, and then optimize. By using a digital blueprint of your facility, we gather data from a variety of IoT devices. Whether those are tags, wearables, sensors, it's irrelevant. But we then are transforming your facility into an interactive, measurable environment. Using that data, you can automatically generate reports, including actionable KPIs and insights on the performance and trends of your production environment. That enables you to enhance business processes and optimize efficiency. Right now, I'd like to introduce you to my business partner and co-founder, Dan Simonich. Dan's going to walk you through a short demonstration of a live plant, and it happens to be ILR. So Dan, I'm going to hand the mic over to you.
Oh, thank you, John. Sorry, in transition, I dropped the demo. If you could just bear with me for one moment. My apologies. So what you see on the screen here is a map of our customer's facility in Hamilton, Ontario, the plastics factory. The blue dots represent the employees. The employees are tagged with vibrating badges. They're similar in size to an access card that's worn on a lanyard, and it has the ability to break away if it gets caught on something. The yellow dots represent assets that are tagged, and in this case, as John mentioned, they're forklift trucks. And you're watching all of these being tracked and traced in real time with sub-meter accuracy, hence the importance of the Bluetooth technology that Seth had mentioned in the opening. The cluster of blue dots that are down at the bottom of the screen, they're employee tags that are sitting on charging station, and the charging area is excluded from tracing. The rectangular objects that are numbered are different machines in the factory, and the shaded areas are parts of the building where material and product is stored. The system's very customizable in terms of tracing. So currently this employer, they requested that an alert is registered if one of the employees comes in contact or comes within 6 feet of another for a duration of longer than 3 minutes. If the threshold is exceeded, a notification will pop up on the screen in the notifications column on the right-hand side, and the system will store that contact information in the database for tracking purposes. No employee information is visible on the dashboard, and it'll only be reported when a case is opened in the event of an outbreak. As John mentioned earlier, initially we were registering a lot of violations. But after having this in production for some time, we noticed that the number of contacts decreased tremendously. So the system's actually changing the behavior of the employees and in turn providing a safer work environment. Once the data is collected, there's actually a lot of ways that you can view it or report on it. The system can show you the number of contacts on any given day, throughout the week, for as long as the data is collected. And you have the ability to get a little bit more granular and drill down through asset-specific data as well. So what you're seeing here is the path that an employee or an asset would take throughout the facility at any given time. And in this case, it's in the form of a spaghetti diagram. We can also, let me just minimize this, we can also take a look at that data in the form of a heat map, which will give you an idea of where an employee or an asset spends the majority of its time at any time. So now, if you think about it, this is very powerful in many ways. You know, after visualizing data in a report like this, it was when our customer decided to reorganize and move machinery around the shop in order to help improve overall productivity, as well as to try and keep the employees safe. So you also have the option of seeing contacts that have been registered over a period of time. The report on this screen will show you the employee, who they were in contact with, the duration of that contact, and more importantly, if one of those employees were to become sick, we can generate a report that would show who they had immediate contact with. We can also drill down a couple of layers to see who those people had come in contact with, and again, who they were in contact with, when and for what duration. With information like this, the employer can make decisions on who may need to be quarantined, on which areas may need to be cleaned or shut down, rather than closing the doors to the entire facility. You know, just imagine the cost implication of shutting down the whole facility. You know, it would be devastating to both the employer and the employee. You know, it's a very powerful tool for tagging, tracking, and tracing assets. But one thing that's important as well is to remember that it's not just a contact tracing tool, but it's an investment in a solution built on a technology that can be leveraged in many other ways to help you drive operational efficiencies in your organization. If anybody has any questions in regard to this solution or the demo, please reach out to us and we'll be happy to answer them for you. That concludes the demo. Thanks, Jesse.
All right. Thank you very much, Dan and John. Obviously, some very insightful solution information based on obviously the recent events and how it can help us. So yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. All right, just while I'm giving Dan and John a minute to have a breather. Oh, it says Quuppa presenter there. Yeah, that should be Seth. So basically, if you have any questions at all, feel free to email us at marketing@quuppa.com or visit our website if you're interested in any of our solutions. Or alternatively, if you have any questions regarding the I Virtualize solution. We've got some information up here on the side. I would like to just let everyone know that if you would like to ask any questions at all, we have a questions tab in the GoToWebinar control panel. So if you'd like to ask any questions at all, then feel free to put some in there. We've got some coming in already. So yeah, let's get on with it. So the first question here, how can trace sensors help my business's bottom line? John, that's probably one for you.
Sure, I can take that one. Well, there's multi answers to that. By having a real-time solution put in place, businesses are able to make much better business process decisions. There's you can boost worker and process efficiencies. It also helps with maintaining high production capacities. You limit area closures when there's a plant, if there's a contamination, and you accelerate responses to things like the COVID, so that you're not going to go down completely. We heard of another plant in London, Ontario, another food processing plant. They had one case of COVID, but they sent everybody home until they all got tested. They probably didn't have to, because that one person only worked in a specific area, but they sent everybody home. And, what did that cost that company, who was shut down for 2 full days? There's a lot of reasons why it can help your bottom line, and that's one of them.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's fantastic. I've got some questions coming in here. Seth, probably one for you. It says, do Quuppa make hardware, like sensors, receivers, and tags, etc.?
Yeah, so the answer is yes. So Quuppa makes both hardware and software as the foundation for our solution. We make tags that obviously have the Bluetooth radio that transmit the direction finding packet, which are picked up and received by our locators, which are a multi-antenna array that listen for that direction finding packet in order to identify the location and position of the asset or the person. So yes, we make both the tags and the locators, as well as the computation engine, which we refer to as a Quuppa positioning engine. In addition to that, we have a load of different partners out there that make tags of every form factor that you can imagine, whether they're ruggedized tags, tags with big batteries, tags with a variety of different sensors for temperature or barometric pressure, tags that are wearables, tags that vibrate. It just kind of, depending on what you need, we most likely have a partner that has the form factor and perhaps the price point that you would need for your use case. So yes, it's back to the comment about the broad ecosystem that we embrace.
Okay, perfect. We have another question here, John, probably another one for you. It says, I currently have an RFID system for asset tracking or asset tagging. Why would I need a trace sensor solution if they've already have like an RFID system in place?
Yes, well, I mean, I can tell you firsthand, the solution that we tried to deploy with another partner was an RFID solution. One of the major problems we had with the RFID technology was the battery life. In an RFID tag that's constantly on, we were lucky to get 3 weeks out of the battery on one of those tags. Not to mention the accuracy. I wish I had some screenshots of the way that the tracking was occurring in there. You would see bounces, from sometimes 5 to 10 feet at a time, because the tracking was so it was so inaccurate, it was ridiculous. The list goes on, but primarily accuracy and battery life are the 2 main reasons why you want to move to a low energy Bluetooth solution.
Okay, lovely. We've got another question here as well, which is what distance can Bluetooth signals on trace sensors travel, and is the height of the sensors an issue for the calculation of the position? I'm not sure who would want to take that one.
I think this could probably be answered between both us and Quuppa. I mean, I guess the answer is it really depends on the environment and the height at which the antennas are mounted and the area that can be covered. Seth, I don't know if, is there something that we can send out to people who have that type of question that would have some?
We certainly can follow up with technical details and more information on coverage area. And as you rightly identify, there's a number of different factors that will impact the coverage area. And I typically talked about 4 different things or contributors to that. One is certainly what level of accuracy that you're looking for. Are you looking for simply understanding that something came into a room or left a room, so sort of proximity? Am I looking for zonal level coverage where I'm creating areas within a space where I have geozones, and if a tag or a person breaches those, then some sort of action occurs? Or am I looking for sub-meter accuracy? So those things are the primary factor that will influence that. Of course, the square footage of the area that you're actually doing your observation and tracking in is the second biggest contributor. The height with which they're mounted, the locators are mounted, it also is very important. So in general, higher is better. And the other factor really is related to confinements. And what we mean by confinements are in an indoor space, what is it comprised of? Is it a wide open area where you've got sort of a factory or warehouse, a lot of open space? Do you have a lot of shelving in there as a result of warehousing and stacking products and assets? Or is it an office or hospital type setting where you've got a whole variety of rooms that could contribute to RF interference? So all those things will contribute to the overall coverage area, but in general, we have, as an example, our outdoor locator handles sub-meter accuracy up to 150 meters above a tracking area. So just to give you an idea of the sensitivity that can be achieved.
Okay, great. We've got another one here. It says, does the Quuppa engine have to run on premises? Seth, probably another one for you.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Sorry, the question was, does the Quuppa engine have to run on premises, like QPE?
Another good question. The answer is the Quuppa positioning engine can be supported both locally, say on a computer that's running where the deployment has occurred, or in the cloud. So it can be run as a sort of in a virtual machine in a cloud computing area. But practically speaking, more times than not, the Quuppa positioning engine is implemented on site, and it largely has to do with applications that require some sensitivity in terms of and concerns with latency. So having to take a lot of data that's being crunched and sending that off into the cloud and then back into a tag that has to perform some sort of a function can create some concerns. So they're more frequently we're seeing that the positioning engine is on site.
And sorry, Seth, if I can just add to that as well, one of the other reasons you would probably want to consider keeping the positioning engine on site is those antennas are running on their own isolated network. So for any of the networking people on the call, you would have to extend that private network across a WAN if you were to put it into a cloud. So it may not necessarily make sense to do it that way.
Okay, Fantastic. I've got another question here, John, probably more aimed towards you because you were talking about the cameras before. It says, what's the difference between this and the cameras to watch the comings and goings of employees?
All right. So that's excuse me. The problem with cameras is it's not one camera. So even if you cover an entire warehouse, you're talking about multiple cameras that you'd have to play back in order to track it. And there's always going to be gaps in things like that. Trace sensors is a non-invasive tracking mechanism for the movements of employees within the facility, and the timeline is much easier to track and to determine the contamination line. Cameras is not a bad thing, but it's not a perfect thing. And one of the solutions we're actually talking about with people right now too. There's one client who's asking us about infrared cameras to be integrated into the system. So they want to have an infrared camera pointed at the entry doorway for the employees so that they can instantaneously take a measurement of that person's body temperature as they come into work. And that is going to hopefully get integrated into this entire solution as well. So cameras, we explain it like this to people. If you are anywhere technically adept in any way, shape, or form, and you want to protect your computer, you have multi lines of defense. It's not one thing ever. It's like a car. You have a bumper, you have an engine, you have airbags, you have a seatbelt. You have multiple layers of defense, and that's what this solution is for COVID. But furthermore, it does so much more. But that's it in a nutshell.
Okay, perfect. We've got another question. There's quite a few questions. We've got about 4 minutes left, so I'll try and get through as many of these as possible. But I've got another one here. Does the solution have a size limit? My warehouse is pretty big, so do I need a lot of coverage? Probably again another one for either John or Dan.
It's Dan here. I'll just step in here. Just to reiterate what Seth said, I mean, there are a lot of factors that will affect how many antennas are required. Size is one of them, but the layout, the ceiling height, the materials, the construction materials, the machinery, etc. So probably the best way to answer that question is we would probably have to perform some sort of site survey to get an idea of how it's laid out, and then we can give an estimate. I don't think you can do it based on, I mean, you can get a budgetary number based on square footage alone, but most likely that's going to change once we get into the actual space.
And I guess I'd just add to that, Dan, part of the maturity of the Quuppa solution in general and in conjunction with I Virtualize, there are a series of planning tools, software tools that we make available to our partners that they utilize in creating any project. And one of those things is the site planner, which basically is used to ingest a blueprint or a floor plan to come up with an estimate of the number of locators required, based upon a lot of the things that we all have talked about in terms of things that will influence the coverage area. So we make great use, and our partners make great use of that when we're sizing up a space for any particular use case.
Okay, fantastic. What other questions? Yeah, we've got a couple of minutes left. All right. Got another one here. I run a small shop with only a few people, and I don't need to track. I don't need to track or trace their movements, or do I? So I assume this is talking a little bit more about smaller scale businesses. Do they need this solution, or is this only applicable for larger scale, sort of production lines or manufacturing?
I don't mind tackling that one. It's really up to each employer. Whether it's the coronavirus, the flu, any other infection, maybe even a biohazard contamination. Protecting your employees and your reputation, your assets is a big part of any company's stability. If one person becomes ill, that could be your entire staff could be sent home even if they're not sick. Plus, you know, if you have to clean a facility, depending again on the size, but that's also very costly. But, you know, what does it cost you to close your doors? This solution scales. It's not like, you know, back to some other questions that we've had along the way. People ask all the time, well, what's it going to cost? Well, you can't tell somebody because each one is different. This is a completely custom solution, which does not make it more expensive. As a matter of fact, as I referred to earlier in that RFID debacle that we had, the pricing is probably less than half of what the RFID solution was. So it's not, people get scared about price and things like that. But again, what is the cost of your business? What is the cost of your reputation? You know, we see it viable in every walk of every business line, every vertical. There's no place it shouldn't go in.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, we've got we're just running out of time a little bit. We've got a few more questions on the line. One of them is probably for both Quuppa and I Virtualize. Are trace sensors CE certified, and the same for Quuppa sensors for use in Europe? Obviously, this is a very US based solution, but is it certified for use in Europe?
Seth, Quuppa's answer is yes.
I think the Quuppa answer is all that matters in regard to this, because it's all based on Quuppa hardware.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you, like I said, if you do have any questions regarding Quuppa specific technology, feel free to either email us or visit our website for more information. Again, if you are looking for a more US based solution with I Virtualize, who have their solution ready, then obviously you can have a look at their contact information, which is shown on screen right now. One more, maybe. Let's go through one more. Do you have any use cases for outdoor location tracking, for example, in a parking lot or outside, sorry, for like external warehouses or that kind of thing?
So I'd like to jump on that one quickly. We're actually in the process of working with outdoor parking lots. A dealership, a car dealership, is interested in being able to track their cars, etc. And the outdoor locator that Seth mentioned, it's I believe the specs are actually up to 300 meters, if I'm not mistaken, Seth. I know the accuracy would come down quite a bit, but if you're trying to find a car in a sea of 500 cars, and you know that it's in aisle 10 and it's approximately, you know, the fourth or fifth car, that sure narrows it down from having a car jockey looking around the entire parking lot for that blue Chevy or whatever he's looking for. So yes, it's definitely an outdoor solution. Seth, you may already have a use case. We don't have one yet. We're working on one, but maybe Quuppa has one already.
Thanks, John. Yeah, the answer to that question is yes. The technology has been deployed in a variety of different environments, including mines. It's been deployed in sports arenas and fields in an external, also parking lots, as was mentioned. And the very nature of the locator that John was referring to is IP rated, so it's impervious to particulate and to the elements.
Okay, lovely. All right. Well, I think we're just coming to the end of the webinar now. I can see that there's a few other questions that have come in on the line. We can see who's asked those questions, and based on your registration email address, we will get back to you, whether that is Quuppa related or from I Virtualize's perspective. One of the questions that came in just now, yes, the presentation will be made available afterwards for everyone that's registered for this webinar, and we will make the webinar also available online. So yeah, look out for the email within the next coming couple of days. But I would like to thank everyone who was just on this webinar. Thank you to all the attendees for paying attention. And thank you to John and Dan from I Virtualize in the US. And thank you, Seth, as well. And hopefully I'll see you guys on the next one.
Thanks, Jesse. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Be safe.